Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaittarottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye Nashtaprayeshu Bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtike. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9, Prahlad pacifies Lord Nrsimhadev with prayers. Text number 18 onwards. So Prahlad Maharaj is further praying to Lord Nrsimhadev. So aham priyasya suhrida paradevataya ila kathastav nrsimha viranchi gita anjastittarma yur nir nare gunan guna vipramukto durgani te pad yugala yam astasanga. O my Lord Nrsimhadev, by engaging in your transcendental loving service in the association of devotees who are liberal souls, answers, I shall become completely uncontaminated by the association of the three modes of material nature and be able to chant the glories of your Lordship, who are so dear to me. I shall chant your glories following exactly the footsteps of Lord Brahma and his disciplic succession. In this way, I shall undoubtedly be able to cross the ocean of nations. So further, when first he said Lord Brahma is your dear devotee, and I'm nobody. I'm very fallen. Now he's saying I want association of devotees in the line of Lord Brahma, so that I can make progress. A devotee's life and duty are very well explained here. As soon as a devotee can chant the holy name and glories of the Supreme Lord, he certainly comes to the liberated position. Attachment for glorifying the Lord by hearing and chanting the holy name and activities of the Lord certainly brings one to the position where material contamination is absent. One should chant the bona fide songs received from the disciplic succession. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the chanting is powerful when one follows the disciplic succession. Manufacturing many ways of chanting will never be effective. However, chanting the song or the narration left by the previous acharyas, Mahajano Yena Gata Sapanta, is extremely effective, and this process is very easy. Therefore, in this verse, Prahlad Maharaj uses the word anja, easily. Accepting the thoughts of exalted authorities through disciplic succession is certainly much easier than the method of mental speculation, by which one tries to invent some means to understand this absolute truth. The best process is to accept the instructions of the previous acharyas and follow them. Then God realization and self realization becomes extremely easy. By following this easy method, one is liberated from the contamination of the material modes of nature, and thus one can certainly cross the ocean of nations, in which there are many miserable conditions. So Prabhupada again and again, and whenever he gets a chance, he says, follow the system, follow the process given in the disciplic succession. And then we cannot go wrong. Instead of thinking of something on our own, mental speculation, trying to invent something new, it won't work. By following in the footsteps of the great acharyas, one associates with the Hansas or Paramhansas, those who are completely freed from material contamination. Indeed, by following the instructions of the acharyas, one is always freed from all material contamination. And thus one's life becomes successful, for one reaches the goal of life. This material world is miserable, regardless of one's standard of life. Of this, there is no doubt. Attempts to mitigate the miseries of material existence by material methods will never be successful. Attempts to mitigate the miseries of material existence by material methods will never be successful, because it always gives birth to new miseries or new problems. Just like any disease these days, instead of finding the root cause of the disease and trying to sort out that problem, what the modern medicine does, it tries to just cure but not even cure the symptoms. It just subdues the symptoms. And we think that the disease is gone, but the disease is there, and by subduing the symptoms, it just gives rise to newer and newer diseases. Or miseries of material existences like poverty. Yes, one should try to make money to reduce poverty and try to have his comfortable life. But if it gives rise to so much of greed, and greed can never be satisfied, then the person just accrues more and more karma, trying to make money and satisfy the senses, but senses can never be satisfied just by money. Otherwise, Hiranyakashipu should have been the happiest person. Just Prahlad Maharaj wasn't listening to him, that's all. But he was always disturbed. And that's what Prabhupada says, one must take to Krishna consciousness to become really happy. Otherwise, happiness is impossible. One might say that becoming advanced in spiritual life also involves tapasya, voluntarily acceptance of some inconvenience. However, such inconvenience is not as dangerous as material attempts to mitigate all miseries. Yeah, some tapasya is obviously there. To get something higher, we have to do some tapasya. But this inconvenience to make progress in spiritual life versus the miseries of material life, if we have to take birth again and again and again and again, this inconvenience is nothing. This tapasya is nothing. So the point is, we have to understand our miserable life here and try to get out of here. Instead of trying to mitigate the miseries or trying to get involved in the improving the social condition and the national condition or communal condition, it's all temporary. Rather, we should preach so that more and more people can come to the path of bhakti, and then everything will be okay. The only way to have peace and prosperity is through bhakti, through Krishna consciousness. Balasya neh sharanam pitro nrsimha artasya chagadam udanvati majjato no taptasya pratividhirya ihanjaseshtas tavad vibho tanu bhritam tvat upekshitana. My Lord Nrsimha Dev, O Supreme, because of a bodily conception of life, embodied souls neglected and not cared for you, cannot do anything for their betterment. Whatever remedies they accept, although perhaps temporarily beneficial, are certainly impermanent. For example, a father and mother cannot protect their child. A physician and medicine cannot relieve a suffering patient, and a boat on the ocean cannot protect a drowning man. So without the mercy of the Lord, without the sanction of the Lord, Prahlad Maharaj is saying a father and mother cannot protect their child. A physician and medicine cannot relieve a suffering patient. This we have seen now in COVID time. So many people died, even though they had the medicines, they had all the facilities. Of course, many people died without the facilities also. But even with the facilities, through parental care, through remedies for different kinds of disease, and through means of protection on water, in the air, and on land, there is always an endeavor for relief from various kinds of suffering in the material world. But none of them are guaranteed measures for protection. They may be beneficial temporarily, but they afford no permanent benefit. Despite the presence of a father and mother, a child cannot be protected from accidental death, disease, and various other miseries. No one can help. Of course, it doesn't mean that father and mother should not protect or should not take care of the children. They should. But understanding, with this understanding that everything finally rests on the mercy of the Lord. No one can help, including the parents. Ultimately, the shelter is the Lord, and one who takes shelter of the Lord is protected. This is guaranteed. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Kaunteya pratijani name bhakta pranashyati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Therefore, unless one is protected by the mercy of the Lord, no remedial measure can act effectively. One should consequently depend fully on the causeless mercy of the Lord. Although as a matter of routine duty, one must, of course, accept other remedial measures. No one can protect one who is neglected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this material world, everyone is trying to counteract the onslaught of material nature, but everyone is ultimately fully controlled by material nature. Therefore, even so-called philosophers and scientists try to surmount the onslaught of material nature. They have not been able to do so. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that the real sufferings of the material world are four: Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. And he says in Bhagavad Gita that 13:9 that this is the real knowledge, of course, besides humility, pridelessness, non-violence, and others, and so on. And Krishna says, all these are declared to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever there may be, is ignorance. So one who has knowledge, real knowledge, he understands these problems of Janam, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. But we are so ignorant of these problems that we think we're going to live forever. We're not going to get disease. We're not going to get sick. Our program, our plannings are like that only. That doesn't mean that we become just negative thinking or have a negative thinking all the time. It doesn't mean that, but we have to understand this is the ultimate truth, death. So how not to die again? That's the question. Not how to live in this life, thinking, eating, drinking, and be merry is my goal of life, but and don't even know what's going to happen in the next life. So this is what the human body is for. Human life with God is to find out the questions, to find out the solution to these problems, which are with everybody. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. In the history of the world, no one has been successful in conquering these miseries imposed by material nature. In the history of the world, means everybody has to die. Once some reporters, they were asking Prabhupada, they were interviewing Prabhupada, and they said, Prabhupada, Swamiji, you are here in America trying to preach, and the death rate in India is so high. Why don't you do something about it? And Prabhupada very calmly and very coolly said, well, the death rate is same everywhere. It's 100%. Even in America, 100% of people are going to die. And those interviewers, they just understood their logic, which was wrong. So everybody is going to die. We have to understand, okay, this body I'm going to leave, but how not to take up another body? That's a question. That's a real question. Nature or Prakriti is so strong that no one can overcome her stringent laws. So-called scientists, philosophers, religionists, politicians should therefore conclude that they cannot offer facilities to the people in general. They should make vigorous propaganda to awaken the populace and raise them to the platform of Krishna consciousness. Our humble attempt to propagate the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world is the only remedy that can bring about a peaceful and happy life. We can never be happy without the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Tad upekshitana. If we keep displeasing our Supreme Father, we shall never be happy within this material world in either the upper or lower planetary systems. So we can never be happy without the mercy of the Lord. And He will give His mercy when we engage ourselves in His service. Otherwise, everywhere we see there are problems, there are fightings, there are riots, there are discontent everywhere, cheating is going on. And then, because we are not pleasing the Lord, the nature is also taking its course. Sometimes along its coronavirus, sometimes it is flooding or no rain, excess rain, too much heat, too much cold, hurricanes. So many things are going on. And still we think we can be happy in this material world. Yasmin yato yarhi yena cha yasya yasma yasmai yatha yadut yastva parah parova bhava karoti vikaroti prithak swabhavaha sanchodistastad akhilam bhavatah swarupam. My dear Lord, everyone in this material world is under the molds of material nature, being influenced by goodness, passion, and ignorance. Everyone from the greatest personality, Lord Brahma, down to the small ant works under the influence of these modes. Therefore, everyone in this material world is influenced by your energy. The cause for which they work, the place where they work, and the time when they work, the matter due to which they work, the goal of life they have considered final, and the process for obtaining the goal, all are nothing but manifestations of your energy. Indeed, since the energy and energetic are identical, all of them are but manifestations of you. So besides the Lord, there is nothing. The material modes are His, material energy is His. All we have in the universe is nothing but His energies. And without His guidance or directions, even His energy does not work. So everything is but manifestations of Him. Whether one thinks himself protected by his parents, the government, by some place or by some other cause, everything is due to the various potencies of the Supreme Personality of God. Everything that is done, whether in the higher, middle, or lower planetary systems, is due to the supervision or control of the Supreme Lord. It is therefore said, Karmana Deva Netrena, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the super soul within the core of everyone's heart, gives inspiration for actions according to one's mentality. All of these mentalities are merely facilities given by Krishna to the person acting. So all these mentalities, so what mentalities? Our mentalities. And where does that come from? It comes from Krishna. Merely facilities given by Krishna to the person acting. Of course, Krishna does not control in the sense He still gives us independence. Bhagavad Gita therefore says, Matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Everyone works according to the inspiration given by the Super Soul. Because everyone has a different goal of life. Everyone acts differently as guided by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The words yasmin yato yarhi yena cha yasya yasman indicate that all activities, whatever they may be, are but different features of the Supreme Personality of God. All of them are created by the living entity and fulfilled by the mercy of the Lord. Although such activities are non-different from the Lord nonetheless directs Sarva Dharman Parityaja. Give up all other duties and surrender unto me. When we accept this direction from the Lord, we can actually become happy. As long as we work according to our material senses, we are in material life. But as soon as we act according to the real transcendental direction of the Lord, our position is spiritual. So see, everything can be material or everything can become spiritual. It depends how we use it. Our body, our senses, everything in our possession. When we work according to our material senses, we are in the material life. When we act according to the real transcendental direction of the Lord, in the service of the Lord, our position is spiritual. The activities of bhakti, devotional service, are directly under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Narad Pancharatra says, Sarva Padi Viniramukta. When one gives up materially designated positions and works directly under the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's spiritual life is revived. This is described as Swarupena Avasthiti, being situated in one's original constitutional position. This is a real description of mukti or liberation from material bondage. So, being situated in our original position, original constitutional position. When we act, when we serve, that means we are already liberated. Means there is no more foundations or binding by the material modes of nature. But now that's what we have to introspect. What am I doing? How much time I spend really spiritually? And the chanting is good or not, and my hearing, my other services are good or not. And how much time do I spend materially? It's all up to us. Maya manah srijati karam mayam baliyah kalena chodit gunanumatena tumsaha chandomayam yad jayarapit shodesharam sansara chakram ajko atitareto tvad anyaha. O Lord, O Supreme Eternal, by expanding your plenary portion, you have created the subtle bodies of the living entities through the agency of your external energy, which is agitated by time. Thus, a mind entraps a living entity in unlimited varieties of desires to be fulfilled by the Vedic directions of Karma Khanda and the 16 elements. Who can get free from this entanglement unless he takes shelter at your lotus feet? So the mind plays so many games. He entraps the living entity in unlimited varieties of desires. Unlimited. If the hand of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present in everything, where is the quotient of being liberated from material engagement to spiritual blissful life? Indeed, it is a fact that Krishna is the source of everything, as we understand from Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita. All the activities in both the spiritual and material world are certainly conducted by the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through the agency of either the material or spiritual nature. As further confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Maya Dhyakshena Prakriti, without the direction of the Supreme Lord, material nature cannot do anything. It cannot act independently. Therefore, in the beginning, the living entity wanted to enjoy the material energy and to give the living entity all facility. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, created this material world and gave the living entity the facility to concoct different ideas and plans through the mind. These facilities offered by the Lord to the living entity constitute the 16 kinds of perverted support in terms of knowledge gathering senses, working senses, mind, and the 5 material elements. The wheel of repeated birth and death is created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but to direct the bewildered living entity in progress towards liberation according to varied stages of advancement, different directions are given in the Vedas. If one wants to be elevated to the higher planetary systems, he may follow the Vedic directions. As the Lord states in Bhagavad Gita, those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. But those who worship me will live with me. The real purpose of the Vedas is to direct one back home, back to Godhead. But the living entity, not knowing the real goal of his life, wants to go sometimes here and sometimes there, sometimes this, sometimes that. In this way, he wanders throughout the entire universe. And then Prabhupada says, if he properly cultivates Krishna consciousness, he is then gradually elevated to the spiritual world. Ultimate conclusion is that one must surrender to the principles of Bhakti Yoga, for then one will gradually attain liberation. No other method of liberation from the material struggle is at all possible. So taking up devotional service and understanding our precarious position in the material world and unlimited desires that we have, material desires to be fulfilled, and the unfulfilled desires lead us to next birth and the next birth and the next birth and the next birth. So there is no way we can get rid of these desires. All we have to do is spiritualize these desires by engaging in devotional service. So to control the mind, that's the most difficult part. But by the mercy of Krishna, because he is Rishikesha, he is the Lord of all the senses, even the mind. So when we engage everything, all our senses in Krishna service, using our intelligence, so slowly, mind also mind also agrees to be engaged in Krishna service. And then Krishna is merciful. He can control the mind. He can control our mind as well by his mercy. So that is the only way to make progress. And this is what Prabhupada said. Then one will gradually attain liberation. No other method of liberation is at all possible. And this is what is coming from Mahajan, Prahlad Maharaj. So anyway, we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, in this purport, at last mentioned that by good fortune, he meets a bona fide representative of the Lord. So I just wanted to know that it mentioned about good fortune. So the fortune, when we talk about, this is already when we take birth, it comes from the past birth, or we can also create our own fortune to meet such a devotee in this lifetime or a spiritual master.
It could be combination of both. See, good fortune is what? That's a bhakti unmukhi agyat sukriti. The agyat sukriti that is guiding us towards bhakti. So when that sukriti, the bank balance becomes too high, a little too high, that we can come in contact with devotees, then Krishna makes the arrangement.
So can I understand like this, that not every living entity is fortunate?
If everybody was, then everybody would have been engaged in bhakti.
But Paramatma resides in every living entity.
Yeah. So why is so many living entities suffering in the hell?
Here also I wanted to understand one more thing about knowledge, because our true nature is Satchit Ananda. But coming in contact with the material nature, we almost forget our original identity. So the knowledge, the actual knowledge is not inherent, the true knowledge, I mean to say.
It is inherent. Sat. Sat means eternal, Chit means knowledge, Ananda means bliss. But the knowledge has been covered over. Our consciousness, pure consciousness, gets covered over by the material modes.
So it seems to be like material energy is more dominant than spiritual energy, as because I am more covered by the material energy. That is why it appears to me as like material energy is more dominant, or it is with everyone.
Material energy is not more dominant than the spirit soul. But when we fall in the material world, our consciousness gets covered over because this is our desire.
Hmm.
We want to enjoy separately from Krishna. So we forget our real position. So when we forget our real position, Krishna has to give us something so where we can act and where we can rectify ourselves.
Right. So it is so, I mean, sometimes it is so complicated. But I understood what you are saying. Uh, Krishna himself is takes the charge of he himself. If he wants, then he can give us the remembrance, and then if he wants, he can again take out the knowledge, true knowledge also. Forgetfulness and remembrance both comes from the
It
Krishna itself.
depends upon our desire.
Hmm. Yes.
See, remembrance, forgetfulness, he can give. Now, if we want remembrance, he can give us remembrance. If we want forgetfulness, it's okay, take it.
But intention, everything matters because of the intention itself. So that intention gives by whom? I mean, I understand that because we desire to take again birth in this material world, that's why we got a material body. That's why we are in this material world. In our previous life, we desired that. That is why. So we are already conditioned then from the birth itself. So when we are already conditioned, then that means that material energy is so binding us so much that it is very difficult to come in contact with the true knowledge or spiritual knowledge. So everywhere that means like struggle and struggle we have to face in this material world.
So he has made it Dukhalayam. He said, this is a place of misery.
Hmm. Yes.
And the misery is basically because we think we are this body. That's how the misery starts.
Yes, right.
There is no other misery. There's ignorance. It's because of ignorance. If we come to this understanding, I'm not this body. Every fight, everything else is based on this body.
True, Prabhuji. In a way, I
You think
understood that.
you're woman, you're Indian because I think with this body. I'm Indian. I'm male. I'm female. I'm black. I'm white. We're none.
Yes, Prabhuji. In a way, I understood that we have to constantly remind to ourselves that I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, I'm a spirit soul. But when it comes to the real pain, I mean, be it physical pain or mental pain, when it appears, so how to see that event at that moment when one suffers is because when pain comes, that is quite intolerable. So even that moment when you say, I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, but pain is there. So how to overcome?
Everybody's threshold of pain tolerance is different. Just like yogis, they can sit, do the yoga, do the tapasya. We have an example of somebody sitting in the caves in the Himalayas, snow. It doesn't feel anything.
Yes, they take also, I'm sure, because these things are inevitable, but they have more tolerance.
So that is a threshold is different, right?
Yes.
So it's the same body made of same five material elements. They have gone beyond, little beyond, than just a regular person. And
So
even in the material world, when you see, even in day-to-day life, a person who's poor and is working hard, pulling rickshaw, and even in this hot weather in Delhi, he has a higher threshold of pain than us who are sitting in air-conditioned cars and air-conditioned homes.
yes, yes, Prabhuji. Correct.
Even if materially this is possible, so spiritually it's also possible. I'm not saying the rickshaw puller is a spiritual person, but we're just talking about the threshold.
Yes, Prabhuji, right. So at least out of millions, we are fortunate to come in contact with the pure devotees. So now, like, it is up to us how we want to endeavor further, how seriously we want to take it, and only we can progress.
And like Prabhupada said, yes, Kono Bhagyavanji, good fortune. By good fortune, he meets a bona fide representative. So this is the job of devotees. This is their service, that they create good fortune of other living entities.
By visiting different places and giving them mercy.
By preaching, by book distribution, by prasadam distribution, by sankirtan. Anybody who hears Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the glories of the holy name, he gets benefited. Whether he takes up devotion service right away or maybe takes up few years later, next life, who knows? But it is our job. This is our service to Krishna, to
Yes,
create good fortune of others.
right. So Krishna and his pure devotees are so merciful, and even to the most downtrodden person, also they shower their mercy. So that person, it depends on that person now, that if they are coming in contact with the pure devotees also, now it up to them that whether they want to take it, accept it or not. So if they will take it, then they will be more fortunate, and then if they will not take it, then it will be their unfortune. So this is
I won't say misfortune, but okay, it will take time. That's all.
yes,
And this is just a flash in the pan. This life is nothing but a flash compared to the trillions and trillions of life we are here. This is nothing. Of course, it doesn't mean we should waste it. I'm not saying that. But just look at it this way. So all we have to do is do our best. Do our best. That's all. And continue doing it. In the process, this is what devotional service is also preaching, chanting, and prasadam, and book distribution. That's Sankirtan. And when we perform this, Mahaprabhu gets pleased, Guru Parampara gets pleased with us, Krishna gets pleased with us, and we get benefited.
yes, Prabhuji.
So we also make progress, we help others make progress. just a wonderful world.
Right, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your
Okay, Mata.
wonderful service. Thank you so much. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mata. Thank you all. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.